Hello everyone, my name is Aditya, and today we will be taking a look at leveraging Gen AI agents with Oracle integration. So what is the OCI AI agent platform, right? It combines the power of an LLM and other tools, right, including a RAG tool, which is retrieval-augmented generation, and then it also gives you a chat interface and an API which you can call to easily chat with the agent. And then in the OCI console, under the AI services, you'll see generative AI agents. That's what we are going to connect to today from Oracle integration. Some of the key features, simple agent setup, it's all managed by Oracle. Tools orchestration, you can add multiple tools so that the agent can use those while answering the user questions. There is a multi-turn chat experience, right? So as I mentioned, there's a chat interface where you can talk to the agent, test it out before giving it out as an endpoint to other services so that the agent has a history of the interaction. You can provide custom instructions, guardrails, human in the loop, and then it's of course scalable and highly secure as well. The tools currently supported by the agent platform are these five. Ready-to-use SQL tool, where you can connect the agent to an actual database, the autonomous database, and then use natural language to query your data. The ready-to-use RAG tool, this is what we will be looking at today. And this is where you can have a knowledge base of documents, and the agent is then able to query the knowledge base and provide an answer. There is a ready-to-use agent tool, so an agent can call another agent to get some data back. And then custom function calling tool, and then API endpoint calling tool, right? The API endpoint is you can of course make calls to the outside world. You add an open API specification, an auth, and then it's able to invoke APIs. So talking about the use case here in this video, we're going to take a look at customer support use case, right? Where there might be some SLAs, FAQ documents, which the agent needs to query and then return responses back to the calling user. Right? So in this case, we're using OIC as the primary orchestrator. And the good thing about using Oracle Integration Cloud is you get the Oracle Process Automation and Visual Builder built in to this tool, right? Where Visual Builder Cloud Service is a application development tool for developing UIs. So in this case, the support portal is something that I built in VBCS. OIC is going to act as the primary orchestrator, getting requests from VBCS, calling the agent, and returning back the answer, emailing it to the user, or deciding whether it needs to assign a task to the OPA. And then, just like shown in this demo, the agent can then also add more tools and then interact with them and provide a better answer to the support request coming from a user, right? But in this case, we will just be focusing on the RAG tool. From OIC, to invoke the agent chat endpoint, we will be using the native action that is available within OIC. A little bit of pre-work is required to use this native action, but once you have all that set up, then it is just a simple drag and drop into your canvas and configuring it to talk to the agent we just created. Okay, so coming to the OCI console, under the generative AI agents option, you'll see you have a couple of options here. Before we get into creating and looking at the agents, for the RAG tool, I think the first step is to create a knowledge base. And when I come to knowledge base, I have one already created, but just to walk you through the process, you would give a name, select the compartment, description, and then data store type, right? In this case, my documents are stored in object storage, but you could have it stored in a database and do vector search as well. And then you specify a data source. So when specifying a data source, you can give a bucket. So in this case, I have uploaded the FAQ guideline doc into my object storage bucket called CleanMax Knowledge Base bucket. And just to show you what that document looks like, it is just a simple FAQ document with a bunch of questions and then answers, which the agent will refer while replying back to user queries. So I would just select this, specify the data source, and click create while saying automatically start the ingestion job. And that ingestion job will take some time to create the knowledge base for the data sources that I just added. Once you have that, then you can go to the agents, right? And within this agent, I'll just show you the one I've created. This is my CleanMax support agent, and under the tools, I have added a RAG tool. But just to show you how I did it, if you create tool option, you'll see the four options that you saw. The API endpoint is clubbed together in this option here, but we're interested in the RAG tool. And in the RAG tool, you can give a name. So give a clean description here so that if you have multiple tools, the agent understands which it needs to call based on the user query. And then, of course, you can provide custom instructions. But here is where then you add the knowledge base that we just created. And then you click create, and this will go ahead and create the RAG tool for us. Once that is created, then you create the endpoint. And this endpoint is then what is used to interact with all the tools. And then, this is what we will be calling from the integration. But here is where you have all of the options of timeouts, but the important ones are the guardrails and then prompt injection protection and PII protection. And then you can enable citation. So in RAG tools, this comes in handy, of course, where it'll let you know which document or which portion it referred to. And then this trace also comes in handy just to see the thinking process of the agent. Right. And then yeah, let's just launch the chat. And this interface is here just for testing purposes, right? Where you can chat with the agent just to see if it's using the right knowledge base and the RAG to answer your questions. So yeah, this is where then we can develop a prompt. So in this case, this is my prompt, right? So I'm just telling the agent that you are an AI support assistant for CleanMax Vacuum Company. And then here is where I will replace the user query. So just telling it that there's a web interface and someone submitting it via the interface, and then these are the tasks, right? So we list down the tasks so that agent understands. Um, understand the urgency, search the internal knowledge base, decide whether it's enough to answer the user's question. If not, then a human needs to come in, and this needs to get assigned to a support staff agent. Um, and then also generate a professional response, right? Because we need to confirm the receipt of the request. And then if the answer is in the FAQ, we need to also put that in the email and send it back, right? And then from the integration perspective, what I want is a priority and a due, and a flag that tells me that this needs to get assigned to someone, a real human, to go and check stuff, right? And I'm telling it to give me these levels and then these sort of format for the due, because this is what is expected by the Oracle Process Automation engine to understand the due and the priority of the tasks, right? And then on the last one, I'm just telling it, give me a JSON payload, right? That's what the integration understands. So give me that back with the email body, priority, due, and then support staff required or not in an object, so that I can use it and parse it in the integration and then decide whether I need to assign it to the um, uh, whether I need to assign the tasks to a human or not. Okay, so let me just copy this whole thing, and then I'll come back here. I'll paste it, and if I go back to the start where the dollar sign is, and I can change this, and I'll say, uh, what is your return process? Right. This is a question that's available in the FAQ document, and this should go back, look at the knowledge base, and then give me back an answer, right? So this is what I'm expecting: a JSON payload of email body, priority, due, and support staff required, right? So um, it uses this LLM to understand whether the question or the tone is something that requires a human attention. If it's something that's, oh, you need escalations or something, of course this will come as true. But in this case, this was a very generic question of what is your return process, right? No real urgency about it. So I get this email body back where it says, we have received your request. And then it gives you the answer as well, right? Typical processed within 5 to 7 business days, and this. Okay, and the next text is I'm giving it a bit of a more complex query where I'm saying, where's my return? It's been more than 10 days. Um, and the tone is urgent, right? Yeah, so when I sent this back, we get a response of, oh, we apologize, of course, this. But if it has been more, we would like to investigate it. And then here's where you see the priorities. One is highest priority, due is 6 hours. And then support staff is definitely required in this case, right? Whereas in this case, priority was okay, and then support staff was not really required as well. So yeah, that's the agent. All right, next let's take a look at the VBCS application. I just put together this pretty quickly. It's just a header, two text fields, and then a button that submits, and of course the logo. Just try this and say, what is your return policy? And then I put my address in. Okay, and submit. And this will go and call the integration, and then you get this success message, right? So you receive an email. Now, what this does at the back is, let's go to the integration now. In the integration, it's going to call this CleanMax user query handler integration. Before I go into this, let's take a look at the lookups that this integration uses, right? Lookups are basically places to store key value pairs, which then can be used in your integration at runtime. So in the integration, I say, key is clean max support, and value is whatever agent OCID is there. And then it's going to pick up the value from here and use it at runtime. So here I have the prompt text and then the agent OCID, and both of these values are referenced in my integration. Now let's take you into the integration. And since the VBCS application is calling this, there is a REST trigger that needs to be exposed so that VBCS can call it. And here in this inline of the input to this integration, you will see I'm just accepting the query and the email, what we had in the VBCS front end. There is no response to this because this needs to call the agent, do its thing, maybe assign a task to the support staff. So there is no response, but we will be sending a response back to the person via the email. So yeah, in this integration, it receives the request, initializes. So this is where I'm reading the lookup and trying to get the values. And then there's two things I'm using the OCI Gen AI RAG action for. First is to create a session, and then the second is to actually give it the message and get the response back. The create session returns me a session ID, and I pass that session ID to the actual chat request, and that's how the agent maintains the history of what's been chatted, right? And if you take a look at the mapping into the chat call, we're passing in the OCI agent ID. That's basically the endpoint ID. Here for the user message, what we're doing is we are doing a lookup to get the prompt, and then we're replacing that $sign with whatever the user has given us in the input as query. And then the session ID is just coming from the response of the earlier call to create the session. In the next step, the response that we get back from the chat call is all in text format, and we have to convert it into a JSON, and that's why we have to stage file write it into an opaque element, and then read it using the JSON schema that we have. And then the next step is just we're sending the email, reading the email body from the JSON response, and then sending the email to the user. And then also deciding whether we need the support staff to come in and look at something or not. And this is coming from the same payload of the reading of the file, right? And then if required, we just assign a process task to that user. And then taking a look at the process is pretty straightforward as well. It's a message-based start, meaning this integration will kick this off with these parameters. And then it'll assign a task, a support task, to a support staff. And then for now, we're just ending the process once the support staff clicks complete. We could have, escalations and all sorts of hierarchical human approval flows in Oracle Process Automation. But for the purpose of this demo, I've kept it simple and tried to just do a single level approval. So now coming back to the application, now let's just run a couple of questions and let's see how the flow reacts. So first is, what is your return policy? The next one is a bit of an escalation sort of situation where there's my refund, it's been more than 30 days. And then the last one is just a generic question about cleaning a filter of some model, right? So let's just submit. All three integrations are submitted. Now let's look at the integration logs. Okay, so I ran it 3 times. I have 3 tabs open. The first one was, what is your return policy? And as you can see in the path, it did not take the switch, which was assigning a human task, because if we come down and look at the response returned from that chat API, we can see in the email body the return policy question is answered. Priority is 2, and support staff required is false, because we pretty much the agent pretty much answered the question, so we don't need a human looking at this. Yeah, and the second one was where we asked, where is my refund? Where it's been more than 30 days, please help. Yeah, and in this one, it is taking the route to assign it to a human so that they can verify why is it taking this long. And if you look at the payload, priority is 1, response due is in 6 hours, and support staff required, true. And the third question I asked was, how can I clean the filter? Right? And in this one, you'll see as well, it is entering the switch statement because a user needs to look into it because this is not a part of the FAQ document. Now, if there were instructions in the FAQ, the agent might have determined that a human is not necessary. But in this case, since it's a specific targeted question and it's not in the FAQs, this gets assigned to a human. And same thing here, when I come down and read the response, it sends back something. But here, the support staff required is true. But if you notice, the priority is not that high, right? As it would be for the other one, where the customer has waited for more than 30 days and hasn't gotten a refund yet, right? So here priority is 2, and then the due date is 1 day instead of 6 hours. Now, if I go back into the process page, you'll see 2 tasks came in here. One of this, you can see the exclamation in 6 hours, and the other one is in a day. And when a support staff opens this, there's a form that I designed here, and of course, this is something that is totally customizable. But based on the email address, I'm trying to pull the order information from the database to show the user the values, right? And then also shows what was sent to the user, so the support staff can then determine the proper next steps. And then once they complete the action, they just click on complete, and it is saved and it's done. Same thing for the other one here. This one was how do I clean the filter, and then you'll see there's here there's the response, but then the user can take action. The support staff can take an action accordingly, and then click complete to complete the flow. And yeah, these are the sort of emails that go out to the users who raise the request with the generic answer, And then if human is looking into it, then it tells the user that they're looking into it. So basically, just to summarize, we built the knowledge base, we created an agent, linked the knowledge base, added the RAG tool to use this knowledge base. We created an integration that is exposed as a REST API. We created the support portal in VBCS, passing the user query and email to this integration. The integration then calls the Gen AI agent, which looks up its knowledge base and tries to find an answer. If not, returns saying that human is required. And in case a human is required, the integration then assigns the task to the Oracle Process Automation workflow that we created. So this is just an example of how you can leverage Gen AI agents in your integration flows. But the advantage here is using the OIC platform not only as the main orchestrator, but also extending it as if you wanted to create a UI or assigning tasks based on the knowledge or the responses you get back from agents. So thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful.